magiliw, pelas ang sinanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bukaw, may nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdiningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhating pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang higaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Nothing is more practical than finding God. That is, than falling in love in a quite absolute, final way. What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. It will decide what will get you out of bed in the mornings, what you will do with your evenings, how you spend your weekends, what you read, who you know, what breaks your heart, and what amazes you with joy and gratitude. Fall in love, stay in love, and it will decide everything.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to our 2020 This is a webinar series organized by
Excuse sir, not so clear yung audio.
Good afternoon again. Am I good to go? Can you show a thumbs up if it's okay? Okay, so once again, welcome to 2024 SDG 2 Sean, the Ateneo de Manila, Ateneo de Davao City, Ateneo process of malnutrition.
Hello, McCoy. Are you there? Mako- Hello? Uh, I think that's while waiting for him, maybe we can just introduce this webinar series. These sets of webinars are really brought to you by the SDSN working group on SDG2. The SDG2 is the uh, Sustainable Development Goal number 2 on zero hunger or fighting hunger. As you know, as some of you might be aware, the SDSN working group has been bringing you these periodical webinars over the last, since after the pandemic, no? Since 2020, late 2020, early 2021, where we also organized the first autonomous dialogue for the United Nations Food System Summit. In that first webinar that we did was in April 2021. You may recall, in the lead up to the actual UN Food System Summit in September of that year. We were able to provide our autonomous report from the first big webinar we organized to the United Nations Preparatory Commission. No? There was a PrepCom meeting that was held in Rome that June in the run-up to the actual summit. No? And that PrepCom looked at all the inputs that came from all over the world. No? So since then, we have continued running these webinars. We've done 5 or 6 in a year, roughly, over the last few years. No? And this is our first one for 2024, where we thought we would take a fresh look at the issue of nutrition, or nutrition advocacy and nutrition education, actually. Now, I wonder if McCoy is able to get back on track. And otherwise, can just they're having technical problems in Davao. I hope it's not serious. So, so anyway, as I said,
Yeah, dito na ako.
McCoy, are you good?
Yeah, Sir Ed, sorry about
Okay.
that.
No, sige. Sige, I was just holding the fort for you.
Thank you very much, Sir Ed. So, Sir Ed was able to share a few things about our webinar this afternoon. This is what happens when we are live. So technical problems really occur. But again, this webinar was conceptualized to bring focus the importance of finding more sustainable ways to scale up and solve the problem of malnutrition. So it is hoped that with greater awareness of the nutrition problems in the country, more concrete actions can be taken by individuals, other groups, sectors in society at all levels to really enable a whole of society approach to solving the hunger and nutrition problem in the country, particularly for the most vulnerable and marginalized. So the group was able to organize and invite several speakers this afternoon, which will be sharing about their experience and how they were able to contribute to at least address the problem of malnutrition in the country. So allow me to introduce the speakers, the set of speakers, and then they will be going one after the other. So this will be a series of introductions so that we won't take too much time in introducing them in between. So our panel of resource persons will start with Miss Maria Cecilia Pastores of the Food and Agriculture Organization Philippines. Well, but before we proceed, yeah, there. So some reminders before we proceed. We encourage everyone to please change your Zoom name into the following format: institution underscore your name. And we also want to make sure that please turn your microphones on mute if it's not in use. And feel free to use the chat box if you have questions or comments for the speakers and the reactors later. Okay, so going back to where we were, our series of speakers will start with Miss Maria Cecilia Pastores of the Food and Agriculture Organization. She started her career in FAO in 2010 as the team leader for the FAO's component in a 3-year joint program on ensuring food security and nutrition for children 0 to 24 months old in the Philippines under the Millennium Development Goals Achievement Fund. Ms. Pastores currently serves as the National Food Security and Nutrition Specialist, where she is responsible for developing concept notes and technical reports related to FAO's portfolio on food, security, and nutrition. She works on various themes such as nutrition-sensitive programming, poverty alleviation, and nutrition improvement among the fisheries sector, policy and legislation related to agriculture and nutrition, youth in agriculture, wild foods, among others. Before joining FAO, Ms. Pastores has experience working in rural Cambodia, where she gained her experience on infant and young child feeding. Likewise, she has worked in pastoralist communities in the northern part of Kenya, Africa, where she gained experience in humanitarian aid. Ms. Pastores holds a BSc degree in nutrition and dietetics from the College of the Holy Spirit, Manila, and a master's in public health from the University of the Philippines, Manila. So that's our first speaker. Our next speaker, second speaker, is Miss Millie Kilaiko. Our next second speaker is Miss Millie Kilaiko, founding president of the Negrense Volunteers for Change Foundation, whose nutrition program has served 54,937 malnourished children, and VC has provided 24,598,948 servings of Mingo, a complementary food that it manufactures in 60 provinces for nutrition programs and emergency relief. The Negrense Volunteers for Change was conferred the Parangal Lingkod Sambayan Award by Ateneo de Manila University at a special academic convocation. To round out our speakers for this afternoon, we also have two speakers from Sikay. So we have Mr. Doji Osabel, who took up AB Political Science in UP Diliman. He was an active student leader and was a writer of the Philippine Collegian. He became a church worker advocating justice and human rights. He has worked with and for the urban poor and labor sector. With his friends in Sikay, he discovered the joy and value of proper nutrition. Doji was also a member of the Presidential Commission on the Urban Poor during the Cory administration and was a party list congressman. He has also worked for DENR and the Commission on Human Rights, Philippines. And our last speaker from Sikay is Miss Rome Canapi, who graduated BS Social Work from UP Diliman 1975, worked for the SPES Institute, an NGO with farmer and fishermen, headed by Father Noel Vasquez of the Society of Jesus. She's also involved with the Ateneo OSCE, Office for Social Concern and Involvement, a childbirth educator teaching childbirth preparation, breastfeeding, and infant massage classes from 1981 till present. So we have a very good lineup of resource persons. So allow me to go back to our first speaker, Miss Maria Cecilia Pastores. Ma'am Maria Cecilia, the virtual floor is yours.
Maraming salamat, Sir McCoy. Good afternoon po to everyone. Magandang hapon sa ating lahat. So first of all, my warmest congratulations to the organizers for this very important and timely webinar. Well, of course, important because I understand the main goal is to really advocate for nutrition and hopefully to address SDG 2. And timely because FAO is currently implementing a project on youth in agriculture, which I will also share later. So this afternoon, I'm going to share some insights on nutrition education and FAO's project on youth, as that is what was requested from me. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so before I begin, let me briefly introduce our organization. So FAO, or the Food and Agriculture Organization, is a specialized agency of the United Nations that leads international efforts to defeat hunger. So FAO has been collaborating with the Philippines since its foundation in 1945 in the main areas of agriculture, fisheries, forestry, food security, nutrition, and of course, rural development. So our goal is to achieve food security for all and make sure that people have regular access to enough high-quality food to lead active lives. Next slide, please. Okay, so the FAO is on a mission to support better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life. So the FAO strategic framework for 2022 to 2031 places the 2030 agenda at its center and will use key SDGs and their indicators to promote and focus on the progress of the SDGs. So actually, FAO's contributions span all SDGs and are guided by the lenses of SDG 1, SDG 2, and SDG 10. But also a custodian for 21 indicators and is a contributing agency to 5 more spanning SDGs, such as SDG 2, 5, 6, 12, 14, and 15. Next slide, please. Okay, so Sir Ed actually asked me to share about nutrition education, but before I discuss that, let us first understand what is nutrition. So nutrition is the science of food, the nutrients and the substances they're in, their action, interaction, and balance in relation to health and disease, and the process by which the organisms ingest, digests, absorbs, transports, utilizes, and excretes food substances. So essentially, nutrition is how food affects the health of the body. Okay. Next slide, please. So what is nutrition education? Nutrition education provides people with correct information on the nutritional value of foods, food quality and safety, methods of preservation, processing and handling, food preparation and eating to help them make the best choice of foods for an adequate diet. So the main goal of nutrition education is to reinforce specific nutrition-related practices or behaviors to change habits that contribute to poor health. Okay. The target groups may vary, so depending on which sector you work with. Okay, so for example, the slides are, can you go back to the, okay, there. So for example, you work with mothers, so you can advocate or you can provide nutrition education in relation to complementary feeding. Of course, sometimes there are health workers in the barangays that work with lactating mothers, pregnant women, and of course, there are also advocates for youth, the farmers and the fishers, just like FAO. Next slide, please. Okay, so I just want to give some examples of nutrition education initiatives in the Philippines. I know there may be a lot, but these are the ones that are actually being implemented on the ground and have really been in the nutrition sector ever since. No, but I just want to also note that successful nutrition education often entails the active participation of the people, their awareness of their nutrition problems, and their willingness to change. Okay. Likewise, ang malnutrition is not really to be addressed only by one sector, but rather it should be looked at as a problem among different sectors. So the the intervention should always be intersectoral collaboration, such as, let's say, you work with agriculture, you work with education, health, and of course, ang very important po is yung communication. Okay. So, for this one, it's called the Pabasa sa Nutrition. It's a mother's class, a participative gathering of mothers informally discussing health and nutrition topics and encouraging each other to apply good health and nutrition practices in their home. So, I can see some colleagues who are from, I think from some who are here are from the NNC. So, and the National Nutrition Center of the Philippines is actually the one who pioneered this Pabasa sa Nutrition. So this is often given to mothers who have kids, like, let's say, under 5 for complementary feeding, and of course, the pregnant and lactating mothers. So the barangay health workers would normally go to the barangays and conduct these mothers classes. And the objective is to empower the families to reduce the vulnerability to malnutrition through the adoption of proper nutrition practices and healthy lifestyle. Next, please. Okay, so this Radyo Mo sa Nutrition is actually a very successful program of the National Nutrition Council. So it aims to educate the general public on nutrition and the coping strategies to address poverty and hunger among poor households, specifically on reducing rice plate waste, increasing consumption of affordable alternative sources of nutrients, practicing exclusive breastfeeding and complementary feeding for infants and young children, and establishing and maintaining home yard vegetable gardens as poverty reduction and hunger mitigation efforts. But I think this ended, unfortunately, last 2022, if I'm not mistaken. No? Next slide, please. Okay, so some initiatives may not really be directly targeting nutrition as the main objective, but for the youth, for example, we have the 4-H Club. It is an organization of rural youth, primarily out-of-school youth involved in education programs and income-generating projects. So most of the projects or the programs that are being introduced among the 4-H Club is the more on agriculture, no, to ensure that there will be supply and the production in the areas would be continuous. Okay, so why is it 4-H Club? Because it stands for head, heart, hands, and health. And these are the 4 values that the members work on through fun and engaging programs. So this is really for the rural youth. Next slide, please. Okay, so why am I including this here? This is actually an initiative of the FAO. It's Youth and Junior Farmer Field and Life School. So because it teaches the vulnerable children and young people more than farming, so they focus on life skills, social tools, problem solving, and self-confidence. But there is also nutrition as a special topic in the Farmer Field School. So there's the practical, hands-on, and experimental nature of the Farmer Field School, complement practical nutrition strategies, which aim to increase the diversity of food consumed, the preparation standards, and the food storage in households. So this actually integrating nutrition activities in the farm, among the farmers, the young farmers. So this is the reason why I'm including it here is because we are also going to adopt this in our project, which I will share later. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is our ongoing project among the youth. This is being implemented in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM. So it's called Strengthening the Youth's Participation in Agriculture Towards Achieving Food Security and Nutrition. So this is a technical cooperation program of FAO and the Ministry of Agriculture in BARM. Next slide, please. Okay, so very briefly, the project sites are in municipality of Sultan Mastura in Maguindanao del Norte, and Dato Paglas in Maguindanao del Sur. So we are going to work with around 10 youth organizations engaged in agriculture. And the main partner for this is MAFAR, the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Agrarian Reform, and the Bangsamoro Youth Commission and the local government units, so provincial, municipal, MAFAR offices. Next slide, please. Okay, so why the interest of this project? It is reported that the Philippines today has the largest generation of young people in its history, with 30 million people between the ages of 10 to 24 years old, which accounts for about 28% of the Philippine population. So it is also important to note that the UN recognizes the important roles of the youth in achieving the SDGs as part of the 2030 agenda. However, the youth need to be capacitated to be able to translate these SDGs into action. And agriculture is one of the sectors in which youth has a vital role to perform in ensuring that SDG 2 or ending hunger is achieved. Next slide, please. Okay. You may be aware that there's the problem of the aging population among the farmers. So the Department of Agriculture has actually indicated that the country may suffer from a critical shortage of farmers in just 12 years due to declining employment in the agriculture sector, worsened by the aging farmers. So the PSA reported that the number of employed Filipinos in the agriculture sector sank to 24-year low in 2018. And unfortunately, BARM is one of the regions that increased in the number of BARM is one of the regions that increased in the number of workers employed in the agriculture sector with about 697,000 persons, but unfortunately,
Hindi ko alam eh. I think hindi. Hello?
I think she was disconnected. Let's just wait for a while.
Yeah. Uh, I think while waiting for Cecil to come back, we can also mention in the Philippines, some of our main problems with malnutrition is really the issue of stunting. Recent World Bank reports have shown that the Philippines is in the 10, the lowest, well, the top 10 countries with the highest number of children stunted in the country. And I believe the Philippine Statistics Authority or DOST FNRI say that that's about roughly 30% of our children, more or less. Those are the numbers that of children under 5 years old are stunted. This is what I believe the FNRI research will show. So aside from stunting, the other problems of malnutrition are really the issue of what is called hidden hunger or uh, uh, micronutrient deficiency. No? While we eat food normally, we don't realize that sometimes because our diets are not balanced, we tend to miss out on some of the nutrients. No? Also, if where the food is grown, sometimes the soil is bad, so the nutrients are not there in the food, no, or in the food that we eat. So there's the problem of uh, micronutrient deficiency. That's the second type of malnutrition. The third is the opposite, no? What we call overweight and obesity. Traditionally, we think that, or in our stereotyping, we think that overweight and obesity is a problem of the first world or the developed world countries, but actually it's not. We can see that even in all the countries of the world, in all the regions of the world, there is a problem of obesity and overweight. And so those are the three types of malnutrition that is present in the Philippines. No? So the what has to be controlled there is the overconsumption of sugar, particularly for young children, and to make sure that they don't become overweight for their weight, size and weight. No? When you compute the body mass index, they have to be if they're too they have to be within a certain range, no, based on that index, so that they are deemed healthy. No? So the World Health Assembly, the WHO indicators for the midterm assessment of the SDGs next year are going to look at some of these figures, no, of stunting, of overweight, of and this micronutrient deficiency, plus a few other indicators. So to show then the importance of breastfeeding. No? That's another indicator that WHO or the 2025 midterm assessment will look at. No? Because it's recommended that at least 6 months, the first 6 months of children, that they are primarily breastfed, so that it will increase their good nutrition and also increase their immune systems. The child needs the mother's milk to increase their nutrition, their internal what do you call this? Yung kanila, no? Their resilience, no? To make sure that they're able to parang be healthy. No? So the best food is mother's milk, no? In that sense, and that's being promoted. No? Even our government is promoting that. Yung first 1,000 days kasama na yan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if Cecil is back.
Yeah. Yeah, parang wala pa rin siya, Sir Ed. But thank you for the added information on malnutrition. And it's very interesting to note while Miss Cecil has indicated that we are a young population of 30 million between the ages of 10 to 24. Sir Ed also mentioned that 30% of our children are stunted. So baka magkaroon din yun ng effect sa ating pag-develop ng ating mga youth. I think Ma'am Cecil is already back. Ma'am Cecil, are you?
Sorry, Sir McCoy.
good?
I'm really sorry.
It's okay, ma'am. You can take off from where you stopped.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you.
If you can kindly share again, please, the screen. So
Your co-host.
I'll just turn off my video.
Okay po.
Okay, so I'm sorry, everyone. No, so again, the problem of aging farmers has been mentioned many times by the Department of Agriculture. So they said that the country may suffer from a critical shortage of farmers in just 12 years due to declining employment in the agriculture sector. And again, the number of employed Filipinos in the agriculture sector sank to a 24-year low in 2018, the lowest since 1995. And BARM is one of the regions that increased in the number of workers employed in the agriculture sector with 697,000 persons. On the contrary, however, BARM exhibited the biggest decreasing proportion of agricultural employment to the region's total employment at 57.8%. Next slide, please. Okay, so the overall objective of the project is to empower the youth through capacity development and get engaged in agri-food systems, development of enabling environments, participate or take a lead in agri-food system for a healthy Bangsamoro. Okay, so this is a summary actually of what we intend to achieve. So there are four project target outcomes, and outcome one is essentially to strengthen the capacity of agriculture stakeholders to design training modules for youth in agriculture on sustainable agriculture, decent employment, food security, farming technologies for youth in school and for out-of-school youth, and to enhance and localize these materials in the BARM context. So an example of which is the Junior Farmer Field School. And our partners on the ground actually also reiterated their intention to really strengthen the 4-H club. So I think this is the biggest initiative so far, or the banner program for the youth when it comes to agriculture initiatives among the youth. Next slide, please. For outcome two, we intend also to capacitate the youth on the concepts of food systems, agricultural technologies, nutrition-sensitive agriculture, and entrepreneurship. So there are a lot of initiatives that have already been conducted, and we are not actually going to reinvent the wheel, but rather strengthen on these existing initiatives that have been tried and tested. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. Outcome three focuses on programs on agri-fisheries, technologies, climate change, DRR, digitalization, entrepreneurship, among others, in the local plan. So the MAFAR has actually the food security and nutrition roadmap, and we intend to contribute to achieving the goals of the roadmap through integration of the youth in agriculture programs in the provincial action plans, in the municipal action plans, and hopefully to strengthen the agriculture youth organizations that are existing in BARM. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so for outcome four, this is basically a research study to be conducted with another, with a partner from the academe. So MAFAR has actually recommended to conduct a study on the value chain, but we want to make it more youth sensitive. So it's basically looking at the roles of the youth in the aquaculture value chain. As you may know, BARM is one of the highest producing, they have the highest production in terms of the fishery sector. Okay, so I just want to share with you, because we just recently started. So What we have done so far in BARM is to have initial consultations among the youth in BARM. So these are just the pictures of our meetings. Just want to share with you how it's like in Maguindanao. So we have the youth farmers who are planting some vegetables, and they also would like to explore the possibility of strengthening the production of crabs in the area, because they mentioned that it is one of the more in demand in terms of in aquaculture. No? Okay, so before I end my presentation, let me share this quote from Paulo Coelho. So, be brave, take risks, nothing can substitute experience. So some of you may embark in new journey in your lives, but just be brave, follow your heart and your passion, take risks. It's where you will learn to discover your strengths and weaknesses. So I'm addressing this actually, Sir Makoy, to the youth, to the students in the in, in the webinar. So I know there are other more mature individuals who are participating here right now, but this is more for the young. So I hope that you will also embark in such initiatives and try to help as much as possible the other youth, not as privileged as you may be. So the agriculture sector is always a very interesting sector that we hope to really improve through the youth. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for
Thank you
this
very much, Ma'am
opportunity.
Cecil, we really appreciate your input for sharing what FAO has been doing and has been engaging with, especially with your BARM engagement. So we wish you the best for your engagement. Thank you very much. Can we give Miss Cecil a virtual round of applause? Just press the applause button on your Zooms. Okay, so let's proceed to our next speaker, Miss Milagros Quilaico, the president of the Negrense Volunteers for Change. Ma'am Millie, you're on board. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I come from a relatively young organization. When our organization was organized in 2010, we virtually had no money, but a lot of dreams. And at that time, we only do little good things for our country. Without any money, the only thing that we could resort to was to become a ground partner for bigger organizations. And our first project was to be a ground partner for a Manila-based organization, which was constructing public schools, classrooms in public schools. And in the first classroom that turned over, it was a kindergarten classroom, and I saw a boy bigger than the rest of the kindergarten classes. He was, in fact, 9 years old. And so I asked the teacher, "Mom, what is this 9-year-old boy doing in kindergarten?" And she said, it is only now that his parents have earned enough money to feed the child a good breakfast every day so he can walk several kilometers to school daily. And I said, wow, he's 9 years old and he's in kindergarten. When he gets to be a teenager, he'll only be in grade 4. And what teenager would like to stay with the grade 4 kids all their lives? And the teacher said, "No, you're wrong, Mom." I said, "Why?" And she said, "There are 7 other siblings back at home. So next year, another sibling is going to go to kindergarten and so on and so forth. And it will be only after 8 years when this boy can get to grade 1. And so I said to myself, kiss this family goodbye. They will all be illiterate like their parents. They will never, ever finish school. And so I said to myself, what good are pretty classrooms if children cannot go to school because they're hungry? What good are pretty classrooms if children cannot pay attention in class because their brains have shrunk or are stunted? Then I knew we had to do something more than building pretty classrooms. And we knew we had to engage in some kind of form of helping our country get out of malnutrition. So I approached the Department of Science and Technology, and I knew they had an unused pasta making machine. And I asked our regional director if our organization can acquire usage of that machine. But he said, are you serious about feeding children? Are you serious about malnutrition? Then focus on children below the age of 3, because no amount of improved nutrition after the age of 3 will a child be able to compensate for what the child missed before that. And so the DOST, especially the FNRI, introduced us to the production of complementary food. And the formula that introduced us to was to use rice, mango, and sesame seeds. Personally, I didn't want to use sesame seeds. Why? Because we don't grow sesame seeds extensively in the Philippines, and we wanted a product that would help the Filipino farmer 100%. So I turned to our volunteers who come from the food industry, and they did some R&D, and later came up with a product that would use rice, mango, and malunggay or moringa. We undertook some nutritional testing, and we also undertook some field testing until we found that they could match what we needed in terms of success rates in complementary food. And so we created mango in small sachets, individual serving sachets to feed malnourished children. Our initial group was a field trial for 12 communities, and we started a protocol of a 6-month daily feeding program. We actually observed other nutrition programs in other areas, but when our volunteers came back after observing these nutrition programs, they told us that we should not follow the protocol used by what we were observing. This was a center-based protocol. And I said, why? And they said, no mother, if you have a center-based protocol, you will never have perfect attendance. Mothers are either too poor to go to the center, too busy, too disinterested to go to the center. And so I told them, what should work? What should we do? And our volunteers designed a home-based feeding program. That's why the individual sachets or feeding sachets was very important. And we partnered with the barangay nutrition scholars to be able to bring the servings of mango daily or in small batches, but to be taken daily by the children. So in 2011, we introduced our first version, which was merely providing mango meals to children who are underweight or severely underweight in the rural areas, partnering with the barangay nutrition scholar. We have ended up enrolling 53,560 children in this 6-month daily nutrition program with a success rate of 83%. But in 2022, we felt that we needed to improve on the program, and we researched and looked at other countries who were successful in implementing their own or getting their countries out of malnutrition. So we introduced our second version, which I will speak about in length later. But to date, we have enrolled 1,481 children, and with a success rate of about 86%. And currently, we are again at the next level, which is specifically addressed to stunting. This was introduced only in February 15 this year, and we have 61 children enrolled. So let me share with you our different versions, the second and the third versions of our nutrition program. These are the components of our nutrition program. This was largely inspired by Peru, which is one of the countries who has successfully lifted its children out of malnutrition. So we picked out some components of the Peru model and placed it into ours. We start with one, incentivization. Peru provides an incentive to the mothers of the equivalent of about 3,000 pesos every quarter, just to make sure that the mother brings the child to the center for medical checkups. They have found that this is instrumental to the success of their malnutrition program against malnutrition. So with an incentive of 3,000, the equivalent of 3,000 pesos quarterly, they found a high success rate of mothers bringing their children, and therefore getting rid of illnesses of the children. We have seen on the ground that children, would suffer for months of cough, for months of diarrhea without medical care, purely because their mothers were too disinterested or too ignorant, to bring their children to the center. Our program, which is modeled after Peru, also provides an incentives to the mothers to bring their children to our quarterly assemblies, which include the medical checkups, but only at a value of 250 pesos, because that's all we could afford. So the mothers receive 250 pesos every quarter for their attendance. But these are the things which happen during the quarterly attendance assemblies. One is a rapid assessment form. This is a very comprehensive assessment of the children's, not only their demographics, but pouring into their lifestyles and on the family or the parents' own situations. We were helped to design this actually by Dr. Tricia Robredo as part of her Harvard thesis. And that is our basis for a rapid assessment, which is conducted by our volunteers on a one-on-one basis with the mothers. And this is placed in a folder which is used all throughout because we provide individual counseling to the mothers throughout a 1-year period. Then we also have children's entertainment. During one of the conduct of our programs, of our quarterly assemblies, where we weigh the children, we measure them. As you know, the children are placed on elevated weighing scales, and they're hanged over there. And this is, caused quite a traumatic experience for the children to be swinging, to be scaled as they are weighed. And Dr. Shell happened to observe that, and he said, this can compromise the accuracy of the children's weight. So we provide entertainment to the children so that they are gradually immersed in the place. Their stress is removed, the trauma is removed, so that when they undergo their measurements, the weight and height, and undergo through other procedures in the quarterly assembly, they are now relaxed and entertained. So our volunteers also undertake that. And the other thing that happens during quarterly assemblies is, of course, as I said earlier, the medical checkups. So also when dental checkups are, when dentists are available, we also conduct dentist exams. All this data of the children are placed in folders, individual folders, and this is followed through the rest of the year that the program is undergone. Then, of course, we have the cash vouchers. As I said earlier, inspired by Peru, we give a 250 peso cash reward. But sometime, the later part of 2022, Dr. Tricia Robredo visited Chile, and she saw that the people of Chile improved on the protocol of Peru. So it's because they saw that the mothers were not spending the money properly. So Chile now gave food vouchers. So we followed through that. And so now we give food vouchers and provide a community pantry at the end of the line during our quarterly assembly. And these vouchers are converted into food which the mothers can purchase. Most of the food that we sell are also purchased from local farmers. So at least this gives the community some kind of income as well. We also, it's again inspired by Peru, who has provided incentives. We also give rewards to the BNS, who are in charge of the barangay nutrition scholars, which are government employed. We give them rewards for every child that meets the target. So every child that meets a weight target or a height target is rewarded to a BNS 100 pesos per child. So the BNS is aware of the targets, even the mothers are aware of the targets, and they are rewarded accordingly every quarter. Another component of our protocol is the involvement of volunteers. We can't do it all alone. The LGU we partner with can't do it all alone. So we harness the services of volunteers, especially weighing, because the BNS are now have something at stake. And they earn, because when children reach their targets, our volunteers act as independent assessors, and they conduct the weighing and the measuring themselves. So that is in short, encapsulated how our nutrition program works out at the moment. This is now year-long, and we provide Mingo to the children for daily consumption for the period of 365 days. And as I said earlier, because of a combination of all these factors, our success rates have improved from 83% to 86%. And now I'll share with you our third version. Okay. Now, our third version is specifically addressed to stunted children. Earlier, someone was mentioning about how scary our statistics are for stunted children. And so we brought it upon ourselves to try to look or determine or find a way to design a program for stunted children that is scalable and affordable. In Brazil, for example, they have a program addressed for stunted children, but this is a program where children are given 80% of their calorie requirements 5 days a week, brought into a hospital setting, only to find that children can get out of malnutrition only 24% of the children for a period of 41 months. And I know that as a country, we cannot afford that. We cannot afford an expensive protocol. And we felt that we have to look for something that we can scale, something that we can afford. And so in addition to the version that I explained earlier, we have added other components. Number one, it's to provide Mingo for the siblings. Why? In our individual wellness, in our wellness counseling for the children and their mothers, which we conduct usually. What I think I failed to mention that earlier, but we conduct individual wellness counseling for the mothers every quarter. This is in lieu of mothers' classes, because Peru also has found that mothers' classes are very important. But sometimes mothers' classes are also impractical if a mother is there with children who are crying and restless. So we decided to conduct individual wellness counselings. And as part of the individual wellness counselings, we found that mothers would generally share Mingo, which is supposed to be given to the child who is malnourished, with the other siblings, because the other siblings are just as hungry and just in need for complementary food. And so what has ended up is that the child does not get, or the enrolled child does not get the Mingo he or she exactly needs. So now in this new program, we provide Mingo for siblings, even if they are not malnourished, even if they are not underweight or they're not stunted, we provide them Mingo. Any sibling below the age of 12 is given his own share of Mingo, just to make sure that the child who is enrolled in the program does not share his share of Mingo with the others. Secondly, the successful countries have seen the importance of milk and animal protein in getting a child out of malnutrition. So our program now includes the provision of milk, which in our pilot state now is now provided by the local government unit. We also provide the child all the vitamins they need, even a Corellia growth factor, which the child may need to be able to get out of stunting. A very important component of our nutrition program is to help the families engage in sustainable food production. We are with the family for a year, and we hope and we know that it is important for the families to continue providing good food for their families even after we leave. So together with an LGU's Department of Agriculture, we help the mothers individually create their own gardens, and food gardens, including later the production of other kinds of food, not just vegetables or fruit crops, but also chickens, ducks, so that children can be given eggs and other sources of protein. Fourth is the creation of peer groups. The mothers are divided into small groups of 5 or 6. They have an individual barangay nutrition scholar assigned to them. They also have an individual peer coach, which comes from NVC. The mothers now are encouraged to reinforce each other, to watch each other's children if they go off to the sari-sari store and buy junk food, so other mothers can help discourage the other children. We look at the creation of peer groups as a beginning of creating the community that is now engaged towards helping each other move towards better nutrition of their children. And this is actually connected to number 5. We give a year-end rewards to the mothers. This is inspired by the Grameen Bank model or microfinance model, where mothers cannot reloan or take out another loan if their whole group or their whole peer group has not paid for their previous loan. In this, inspired by that, we now have provided a jackpot reward at the end of a year for peer groups where children have reached their weight and height targets 100% of in the group. That means if you are a peer group of 5 and only 4 have reached targets, the group can no longer avail of the jackpot reward. What are the other components of the reward that they can get? One is reaching the weight target. Second is reaching height targets. Third is their availability of food gardens. That means every family, either individually or the peer group communally, have engaged in food production. Food production both ways, both for providing leafy vegetables and fruits, and also for the provision of animal protein, which studies in Indonesia and Latin American countries have shown that the provision of animal protein is very important towards the development of stunted children or getting them out of stunting. The other thing that's also part of the reward is to making sure that the children are immunized properly. The children are also have been dewormed. They also, the families also practice zero open defecation, because cleanliness is also part of the overalls. When they get, a perfect score, and we place this like a bingo card, when they block out their bingo scorecard because they have reached all the targets, then they receive their year reward, which is about 12,000 for the peer group. And inspired again by Peru's incentives, we also give a reward to the barangay where this peer group belongs to. And we have seen the value. We're now piloting on this, but we've seen now the barangay captains even helping provide spaces for gardening, helping the communities, making sure that their homes are clean, making sure that the children are raised properly. So this version 3 address for stunted children is only now on its first month. So we still do not know whether whether this will succeed or not. But together with a very cooperative LGU, we're looking up, and it means that it looks like it's very hopeful. So one of the most important things that we have learned over the years in managing our nutrition program is the partnership between ourselves as CSOs or as an NGO and a very active LGU. LGU is very important. We have been to many areas where we have put in 100% of all our energies, but only to find an LGU who is disinterested, which goes all the line down to the barangay level or the household level, and our program could never really work. And as the one of the songs go, sometimes we are beasts, sometimes the LGU is the beauty, sometimes we're the beauty, and sometimes the LGU is the beast. But as it is in the beauty and the beast, this is a tale as old as time. We have to be both the beauties and the beast. We have to work together. And I believe that only when the private sector and the LGU can actively work together, or government and the private sector actively work together, will we ever be really able to find real change in or progress in our our dream against fighting malnutrition. So that encapsulates what we're doing and our dreams for the future and what we are trying to do in our own little way to help children out of malnutrition in the country. So thank you for your
Thank you
time.
thank you very much, Ma'am Millie and NDC, for a very inspiring initiative for encouraging partnership between local and the private sector. So thank you very much. We now proceed to our next set of speakers from Sikai. We start with Mr. Dodji Osabel. Sir Dodji, you're on board.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir. You may proceed.
Yes, first, I just want to thank the group as well as my original colleagues from Sikai for getting me into this program of nutrition, nourishing the nation. And this is really something new for me. I never really cared about issues of malnutrition because I was just focused on how to keep myself. That's very selfish, no? The thinking of myself on what to eat and what not to eat. And I never really, there was really very little knowledge about all this nutritious food that will keep us healthy. But shortly after, I was just too happy to discover that there are better ways of really keeping ourselves up and about and really still strong, no, to be able to face many other challenges that will come along our way as we age. So I'm now senior. I'm 69 years old, and I'm happy to be a speaker for this for SDSN. Thank you. Please, can we move the first slide, please? So there are some things that we need to know about malnutrition. And the UNICEF has made a study and found that malnutrition accounts for nearly half of all deaths in children under 5. That's a lot. No? And that from 20% to 50% of hospitalized patients are malnourished. What we eat can make us sick. This is very true. So we need to be more conscious, more aware of the impact of sugar, salt, and fat, and as well as processed food with too many chemicals on our body and our health. So there have against soda and sweet beverage addiction. Next slide, please. Now, what we know about leafy greens and other vegetables, they're packed with essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. And fiber from veggies is essential for digestive health. They lower the risk of chronic diseases, including heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. And they control calorie intake and help manage our weight. Since the birth of Sikai, I have noticed when I really profited from the program that we pursued. This is contributing to the nutrition of the nation, no? To nourishing the nation. And this is, in terms of our food budget in terms of was cut into half. So imagine I was spending twice for food that really didn't matter as far as my health is concerned. But after getting introduced and being a follower of the advocacies that we wanted to share, trying to be true, well, it really profited me in so many ways. No? It reduced our budget. It also made me feel really healthy. I was able to maintain my weight along the way and many other benefits. So why do we Filipinos consume less vegetables? Fast food is now more prevalent in our cities and first and second class municipalities. And with rising inflation, some vegetables are in fact more expensive than fish and meat. That's quite strange. No? At one point, this is quite recent, no? As demand for more healthy, but there's limited supply, so the price of some vegetables has really risen. Yeah. Many children are known to be averse to vegetables. This is a challenge for many families. There is little product at the community level. So without an affordable and accessible vegetable production, fruit and vegetable production, this will just be
I think we lost Sir Dodgy. Sir Dodgy?
yeah, okay. Next, please. Next. So to be able to make vegetables really affordable and accessible, we need to do some action, some doable steps, no, at various levels. The most important, of course, is 1 and 2. I guess many of us already have some ideas. We don't have to discuss them here, but one example is at the level of the family, we should already be able to get our children to be familiar with vegetables and to embrace them as healthy as a part of our meals. And at the local community, such nutritious food should be available and accessible and affordable. So, and it's quite strange, like in Metro Manila, for instance, you have neighboring provinces which are much nearer to the metropolis, and yet we get our supply of nutritious food from all the way from the north down to the south, from Mindanao, and supply them. But there's land surrounding the metropolis, and yet little is done about producing more food, and especially nutritious food for the requirements of the metropolis. That's something that's to think about. Then we need the local government and the barangay, as well as the national government. We must find a way of getting our government officials, elected leaders to participate in food first programs. There is a way, you know. I have had a unique journey. You know, at 69, I have gone through. I have served the people for more than 40 years. I have served government for 27. I understand quite keenly the dynamics, the processes of government, of governance, I've been in Congress. I was led to Congress. I had 2 terms, 11th and 14th Congress. So I'm quite familiar also with the politics, the real importance of good governance. And sadly, we are unable to really make our elected leaders choose the right leaders and make those whom we choose really deliver as good public servants. So once they win the elections, they forget about their duties and just concentrate on their own interest. And I think this is what is really at the heart of the poverty of our nation, as well as the hunger in many places, is really the erosion, if I would describe it as an erosion of democracy through so-called family dynasties. The dynasticism in the country, I think the Philippines is now #1 in the world as far as dynastic leaders is concerned, no, in terms of elections. So we have to really how do we make our demands? Because it's our money they will be spending once they sit in office. And if we are unable to direct that money to the areas where they should go, like food first, then we will be at a loss. So there must be a way of getting ourselves at the local level down from the communities. We must enable the communities. We have heard this over and over again, but we can, beyond teaching, we should really collaborate in finding ways. Then the schools and the business sector, the NGOs, as well as our churches, faith-based organizations, and other stakeholders should really get into some cooperation and collaboration programs in this area. We should really address the problem of hunger at the scale needed. No, so we don't. We are not satisfied with just showcases or good projects, but we have to persuade the entire country, including our citizens, to help each other find ways of making our government, which is, I think, would play a really big role in addressing our serious hunger and poverty issues. So, young at heart, friends gave birth to Sikhai. Longtime friends happily agreed to promote health and wellness. So some people in the picture are familiar to our participants today. And that's Edgar Valenzuela and Tina Liamson, and our next speaker, that's Rome, our friends. They are all seniors and young at heart friends. So we were inspired by the book of Tina and LV Ngu, the lady in front, to your left, in white, and the Soirico project, which was also conducted by, led by Tina and Rome some time ago, together with my partner, Marie Osabel, seated in the middle in front. So we focused on herbs, fruits, and leafy vegetables. And with that, Sikhai drew life on October 16, 2012. Next slide, please. So Sikhai's goals is increased knowledge of nutritious and medicinal values of herbs, fruits, and vegetables, and new, diverse, and creative ways of using them. So no Filipino should go hungry. This has been the favorite campaign line of many of our politicians, from the president down to another. But we should we should really challenge these leaders to make true their promises from Malacanang down to to our barangays. We should really find ways of getting them to be true to their promises. Next, please.
Okay, so
Yeah, at this point, I will now ask my colleague Rome to proceed.
Okay, so thank you, Doji, and good afternoon, everyone. So as Doji mentioned, SICAI is basically an NGO. It's a non-profit organization. Okay, and as he mentioned earlier, also we've been friends for like 50 years, no, and so when we were in our 60s, we decided that we couldn't really do much community work, and we started to have more problems on health-wise. So we formed the SICAI, and advocacy is basically education through publication and demonstrations. So we published calendars from the year 2014 till 2024. No, not yearly. We were able to produce like 5 calendars and 1 cookbook, which is called Leafy Delights during the pandemic. The herb calendar that we had the first 2 years concentrated basically on the available herbs that we know, like basil, tarragon, but we also wanted to focus on the local herbs that have medicinal uses for it, no, like the lemongrass, no, we all know tanglad, or you have the pansitan, which is if you have gout, no, it's very helpful. They make it into tea, or like mint, oregano, those particular herbs. Even we continued that 2015. And the calendar basically had concentrated on every month a particular herb. There would be a recipe, a photo of that dish, and it had small captions regarding what about the herb, no? How what are the health benefits, brief descriptions, and then how to grow and its culinary uses. By 2018, we went into the fruits. Now, fruits like local fruits, like you have the bayabas, guava, you have mangoes, watermelon, papaya, no, incorporating it, using it to make it more exciting. Like one of my colleagues, Elvie, watermelon, what she did with the watermelon was with the skin on, the green, so it's a green and red, no, slice it horizontally in different levels and stacked it up like a cake, no? And then to the point that it's like instead of buying a cake, we make use of a watermelon, which is also nutritious, more nutritious, I believe. No, they're both sweet, the cake and the watermelon, but I think the watermelon is a newer innovation of what you can do now with the fruits. Okay, so other fruits that we had also was mango, not just eating mango or making mango shake or eating it with the local kakanin like the suman, no, but it's like putting it in between kebabs, no, like you have some if shrimps or whatever, and then putting onions and all. Okay, so with the fruits, we also have the 2021 leafy greens. At 2020, we had leafy greens, which concentrated more on the leaves. And this was basically the leaves like alugbati, saluyot, malunggay, mustasa, kangkong, kamote tops, which are a lot cheaper but very, very nutritious and affordable for all levels of society. Okay, so made recipes, easy recipes, simple recipes that are affordable even for the C and D and E. And then after that, because of the pandemic, we started to consolidate more of the recipes that we had, and we put out a cookbook, which is called Sleepy Delights. And for this year, we came out with what you can see there on the right. Is basically Squash Delight, using squash, the leaves, the flowers in different dishes. Like we made ketchup, squash ketchup. No? We use squash pasta. No, I mean squash sauce for pasta. These particular things. Okay. So if you're still interested, we're sorry to say that we sold out our production of the squash calendar. But wait and see for the next year. Okay. So the next slide, please. Aside from publication, okay, so this is basically the calendars that we had. Okay. And then the next one, please. We had demonstration. Next slide, please. We had cooking demonstrations, okay, in different areas. After this, I'll show you some pictures. So healthy and nutritious, cheap and easy to prepare recipes, as I mentioned. No, naturally grown, free from toxic chemicals and fertilizers, backyard propagated, or using containers. No, so I still believe that no matter what class level you are, you would have some space. No, you can use like whatever, you can recycle containers, get a little bit of soil and plant like simple commodity tops, diba? No, kangkong. When you buy kangkong, you plant that and you can still proceed with having kangkong all throughout the months. Okay. Women in the C and D categories were happy and grateful to discover new flavors and aroma. We brought, during our demonstrations, we also gave them, aside from the calendars, we also gave them small pots of the herb for them to also get to feel, to smell the aroma of it. And then to stop, we had quick recipes, no? That could prevent you from serious illnesses. So the touch, the smell, the taste of the herbs, the raw leaves elicited, bango. They all smiled because it's the first time they've smelled like yung lemongrass na tinadtad, no? Okay. And then let's go to the next one. So these were our cooking demonstrations here. We had is in Cagayan de Oro. You see Tina there saying, pasado naman pala, no? Pasado yung mga niluto namin. The moms are awed by the flavors and the moms getting to eat what we demonstrated. So basically, we come into a certain community, we bring in like this one for Rodriguez Montalban. We have ready cooked foods already. Then we partnered with them. We asked them to bring in, to prepare the cooking utensils. No, we brought the ingredients and then we would demonstrate and we asked the moms also to join in. So it was more of a participative cooking thing. Okay. Aside from Montalban, we also were able to do it in other areas. And they commented like, why did we not know and learn about this before? Okay. And below that, you'll have a photo of the talinum. The talinum is my, wow, love na love ko yan, ano? Especially when Lenny was campaigning because it showed a pink flower. This is talinum is what we know locally as the Pinoy spinach. And you can use this for sinigang, nilaga, no? And it's also an ornamental plant that you can see. It has nice flowers. No? So instead of buying all the time kangkong, sitaw, you can use that talinum, the young leaves, for sinigang or nilaga. Then other areas that we went into were, next slide please. Tarlac, we also did one in Tarlac. Okay. And then also we did in Cavite. Cavite here, no? Okay, so this is how we did some cooking demos. And then, okay, on printed training guide materials, handy printed materials and invaluable for health and wellness promotion. Sikai publications were carefully prepared. Each calendar took us a year to produce, as we had to test taste the recipes we choose, of course, and we enjoyed eating them. No, it was a bonding. Aside from testing, it was also bonding. We just had to have fun. All our write-ups are ABC, meaning accurate, brief, and clear. Sikai calendars, even the 2014, are still being used as guidelines by all the people who bought it or the communities that still have it. Though limited, our materials have reached many parts of the country and even abroad. How? Well, since we had to give Christmas gifts and the calendars would had to be out the following year, those were our Christmas gifts to friends, relatives, and of course, they also bought copies to give away for their friends and relatives. Okay, next one, please. So this is the Leafy Delights, the cookbook that we did and published out during 2021. No, it had like this one. It had a description of pechay bagyo, saluyot, or pechay. It would have recipe, not just one, sometimes more recipes in it. And then illustrations. We did not have any photos though, because it would have been too costly for us. And since we were not really a profit-oriented organization, we just decided to have it this way. And then after this, no. So we walk our talk. We serve fruits, vegetables, no, as staple food with rice on our table. I'll show you later on how you can entice yourself, the young ones here listening, no, and also your kids or grandchildren to eat rice, no, by putting more color into it, like adding blue ternate or turmeric to make it blue or yellow rice. I'll show you photos in a while. We propagate the plants and herbs and vegetables, no, and try new ways of using it. We spread the word to our relatives, neighbors, and friends. And then, so this one, we grow the vegetables like this is just the bottled, in mga 10-gallon containers or in cups or in small cups. And this is how we do it. We give a little talk. We demonstrate the recipes. We eat the food that they cooked, we cooked, and then we have them lined up to give them the calendars and then also plans to propagate. Okay. Aside from, next one, please. So this is pansitan on the left. No, the pansitan is so easy to grow. In fact, you just have one small plant and it will thrive on its own, especially during the rainy season. And pansitan is basically used as an anti-inflammatory. It has anti-inflammatory ingredients, no? And as I mentioned earlier, it's used for people who have gout. They just have boiling water, soak that, and drink the tea. Okay. The blue ternate, this is a vine. Basically, it's an antioxidant thing, a lot of properties, and it emits a nice color, purple, blue. No, this is again the talinum, which I showed earlier. And then the next one, please. And this is to color your rice using the blue ternate, it becomes blue or turmeric. So how do you have this blue rice? You get the flowers, you have a glass of water, no, hot water, have the leave a blue ternate inside, the flowers inside, pour water, the water will turn blue. And one of our grandchildren, what they did was put in calamansi, and it became purple. And she was so amazed that she loved now drinking calamansi, no, because of the color purple, no. So or else yellow, luyang dilaw, no, or like if you have ever eaten like yung mga barbecue with java rice, they also put some coloring. So this is another way to do it. All right, so the next one after the rice. Looking forward, our Leafy Delights cookbook sold out. Thank God it was sold out. It was so popular. No, we are planning to reprint it, second edition by next year. We also plan to consolidate our 5 calendars and to put up another cookbook, this time adding fruits, herbs, and vegetables. We want also to improve our Facebook page and maybe produce short videos really of how to do simple recipes. And possibly also either give out or sell potted herbs in small containers, herbs that are local like the pansit-pansitan, talidum, oregano, blue ternate, the local ones. We don't want to compete with the commercial ones selling herbs. So we will engage with growers and producers and connect with advocates in schools and communities, of course. So, and then the next also is we look forward to having our next production, second edition of the cookbook, and watch out for our 2025 calendar. You can reserve copies sometime maybe October, November. You can email us at sikaifield@gmail.com or Facebook. So let us engage, connect, and grow together. Lastly, I'd like to say, ang gulay ay buhay. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rome and Sir Dodgy, for sharing your work in Sikay. Really walk the talk. Very important in what we do as advocates for nutrition. Okay, so we have a very interesting lineup of speakers, and I know there are a lot of chats already shared. So hold on to your thoughts. We will now be hearing from a set of reactors. Each reactor is given 5 minutes to share their thoughts and insights on what has been shared by our speakers thus far. So we start with Ms. Nessa Buna, a registered nurse of JP Rizal School of Medicine, Xavier University, the batch president, level 4. Ms. Nessa, you're on board.
Yes, hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You may proceed.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. So, yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So, I think sir has already introduced me. So, again, I am a nurse by profession, but currently a medical student, a level 4 clinical clerk as of today. And for my reaction for this webinar session, so as we talk about malnutrition, not just those who are underweight, but also those who are on the heavier side, this webinar actually is very timely, especially for me, who actually belongs to the latter group, no? I'm on the heavier side, actually. Hence, this meeting now actually helped me personally, considering that I am struggling with the various health problems as of the moment because of my weight. So I am actually in awe considering the objectives of this meeting, wherein it really seeks to find sustainable ways to scale up and solve the malnutrition problem of this country. And aside from that, spreading awareness that this problem actually exists is already an eye-opener so that we can tap other people and be advocates also of change in terms of proper eating habits. Also, I am happy to know that programs such as what was mentioned by our second speaker, Ms. Milagros Kilaiko, the Mingo program, is actually or already paving its way. Moreover, it's also good to know that Sikhay has been having its education and advocacy through publication and demonstration already. This is a very good help in terms of making the people know about the different recipes so one could choose from. So with this also, I would also like to quote what Mr. Dodgy Osabel mentioned, no, about vegetables being more expensive today compared to fish and meat. So it's really actually true, especially for those living in urban areas like me, doing duties, 24-hour duties, having problems with our food choices, like what are evident in the community now are the fast food really. So it's very hard to find those healthy food that we could eat given the little amount of time that we have as clinical clerks. So even I myself really find it difficult to choose and look for some vegetables to eat. But with this webinar, it shed me some light that there is really a chance to be able to eat healthy and be healthy. I'm very grateful that I was able to have this opportunity, knowing that in our community rotation as medical students, we have actually 2 months community rotation. Like in our one whole year duration, we have a 2 months community rotation in our adoptive communities, wherein we have to do a lot of advocacies to implement in our adopted communities. And I guess this is really a good chance for us to integrate this in our adoptive communities. And I also hope that those students like me who are here with us in this meeting, I think there are a lot of people or participants here. There are 103 as of the moment. So I think there are also students like me here. So I would also like to hope that these students or students like me who are present today will also be agents of change, especially in spreading awareness, particularly in making this country and its people realize that such problems do exist. But it doesn't end there. With today's peak of the social media usage, we could use this platform to give them ideas about the existing programs or the different food preparations using vegetables and fruits that will surely entice our people, which were presented to us by one of our psychiatrists team, is Rome Canapi, no? And I think that would be all. And to end this reaction of mine, I would like to thank all of our speakers for all the knowledge that they were able to share with us today. And of course, to the organizers for inviting me here today as well. So to everyone here in Zoom, thank you also. And as what Ms. Kanapi mentioned, I would like to end this by saying, may we all engage, connect, and grow together. Thank you, everyone, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Nessa, for a very wonderful reaction to the speakers. So now we would like to hear from another student from the BS Health Sciences. She's the representative from the School of Science and Engineering, Ateneo de Manila University. Let's welcome Miss Annie Love Paboroques. Annie, you're on board?
Okay, hi. Can I be heard?
Yeah,
Okay.
you are. Please proceed.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, I go by Annie. I'm a BS Health Sciences undergraduate student of the Ateneo, and I serve part of our Sanggunian as the School of Science and Engineering representative. So, to start with, the topic of food and nutrition is pretty interesting now. It's something that we have been learning about since we were children, as something part of our values. When we were taught how to walk, how to speak, how to play, how to behave, we were also taught how to eat. And our current reality is when we eat, we just think about filling our stomachs and quenching our hungers or cravings. Less often are thoughts considering the nutritional value of it or its relation to health. And even less are the thoughts considering the people and systems that allowed us to have food on the table right now. In the Ateneo, we have been trying to highlight the role of food in our day-to-day routines in promoting healthy food behaviors and healthy food choices. My team and I have been trying our best talaga to reach out to our fellow peers to care about the topic of health through food. And it wasn't an easy experience at all. We saw more barriers than enablers to this, from the availability of healthy meals in the cafeteria to the presence of to the preference of consuming healthy meals over other options, to the financial costs and affordability of these food options, and even to the eating habits, the eating behaviors of college students. It was a very, very challenging task. So, throughout this whole webinar, I was reflecting if it's already difficult to promote nutrition within the Ateneo, within my context of college students, how are we supposed to do this to the nation or like even the whole world? And from the webinar, I was able to pick up a few things. And I think the answer here, as it always starts, is the recognition of our privilege. For some people, eating is as normal as breathing or blinking, diba? If it's like if they want to sleep, they would sleep. So if they want to eat, they would eat. It's a pretty simple process for them, with food always readily available within an arm's reach. And to an extent, it makes sense. In the most basic of survival, we as humans need to eat, of course. So food, therefore, is a basic necessity. But I think less discussed, especially among my peers today as a student, is the privilege to actually be able to have it as a basic right. We know from the many speakers that we had heard today that while food is a basic right, it's a matter of having difficulties within its accessibility, affordability, and availability for all people. And I think that what all of our speakers agreed on is correct. No, that efforts to promote health and nutrition really requires a multi-sectoral approach. I'm not much of an expert on the subject as they, or even as some of you in the audience are, but as a health sciences major, I can say with great confidence that health is a multidisciplinary subject. It's connected to many different fields and sciences in a way where an individual's choices isn't just affecting their own health, but the entire communities as well. So understanding the issue of food and nutrition now is also understanding that it's very much an issue of poverty, an issue of environment, or an issue of the entire system as a whole. From the aging agricultural sector to the changing climate to the geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas to the production waste ensured by corporations and all of that and so many other different things. There are really so many issues when it comes to food security, and it's really impossible to address all of these on our own. And I'd like to go back again to one of the points raised in the very first talk, that having successful plans and programs entails the activeness and participation of the people and their willingness to change. And the reality still stands that people will not help our cause if they do not want to, diba? People will not hear us out if they do not want to. People will not give us their time and day if they do not want to. So now we're tasked with the issue. How do we make them want to? And from this entire talk, I was able to realize that it's a very simple concept and it's pretty much going back to basics. But all of the presented programs and actions that our very amazing speakers have shared with us today all go back to one thing: value building. And as the last talk said, it's all about having fun. It's all about showing that our advocacy is fun and important at the same time to influence and empower others to see that too. And I think this speaks to whoever's out there who's thinking, what can I do as a youth to solve this problem? Or who's thinking, oh, I'm just a student, I can't do anything of significance. And to that, I think I would respond that the fact that we're all here gathered today is already of great significance and it's already one of the first few major steps to achieving our goal. So just to end this up, I would like to say thank you all so much for to our speakers for sharing their insights and their words of advice, their wisdom to us today. Thank you to the organizers for creating the space for all of us to share our thoughts. And thank you to you who's listening to this, who has an open mind and parang who can be the generation of change. So yes, thank you so much again.
Thank you very much, Annie, for your very candid response to this inputs that you have heard. Looking forward to your tribe increasing. Okay, so we also have our third reactor from the Good Food community. Miss Mabi is the Advocacy and Partnership Lead of Good Food Community, one of the pioneers of community-supported agriculture in the Philippines. Her training and experience in plant-based cuisine strengthened her interest in sustainable food systems and health-supportive cooking and fermentation. She's involved in the Food Today, Food Tomorrow, which focuses on creating agro-biodiverse gardens in low-income communities in Quezon City, and where she shares healthy and appropriate plant-based cooking techniques using the harvest of the urban growers. She is a published writer and editor, considers herself a food activist, and is a campaigner for organic agriculture and food sovereignty. So let's welcome one of our reactors, Miss Mabi David. Miss Mabi?
Hi, thanks, McCoy. Can you hear me?
Yeah? Please
Thank
proceed.
you. So it's a privilege to hear from everyone, all our speakers sharing their expertise, and it's energizing to hear from the young people who preceded me, the reaction. Pretty much my key takeaway from the event today is really the need for civic participation, the need for a social movement around safe and healthy food for all. Otherwise, health will be just something like, as we Filipinos say, pangmayaman, no? It excludes a certain sector. So we need to build a social movement around it. We've learned in our work that health, no, and access to healthy food is a shared responsibility, and it's gratifying to hear it from our speakers, no, UNFAO talking about farmer field schools having a nutrition agenda, and it's not just about production, you know, but also a healthy consumption, the community participation from the Mingo program, creating peer groups, the community cooking conducted by Sikhay, no? So for us at GFC, securing nutritious food for our communities means securing our farmers' food, no? That's why yes, it's a shared responsibility. But also, because of when we build a movement around health access to health and healthy food, we need to be able to interrogate how the current food system also undermines our nutrition goals. We know that a diverse diet, no, is a proxy indicator for a healthy diet. I think that's from UNFAO, and it's an important element, no, a signifier of that diet quality. We know that households facing nutritional inadequacy are likely to be facing food insecurity, which is why one of the key pillars of our work with farmers is making sure they grow a diverse organic crops so that they have food to eat. But diversity is undermined by large-scale monocultures, which is the dominant system of food production by transnational corporations, with their emphasis on a single crop, which happen to be profitable commodity crops. It's also very toxic. There's over-reliance on chemical pesticides and fertilizers, which Sir Ed mentioned earlier, no, about its link to micronutrient deficiency in the soil and our own micronutrient deficiency. But it relies heavily on these pesticides because such farms, such monocultures are prone to disease outbreaks. You know? The pesticide costs are also costs that our farmers assume, they assume all the risk. No, they're trapped in debt as they are trapped in the use of pesticides. Pesticides are also known to disrupt our endocrine system and nervous system, which are vital to the body's ability to achieve homeostasis and fight inflammation. So hindi sila hiwalay, ano? Our health, we've realized that good food, our health is tied to the health of our farmers, no? The commodity crops are also the ingredients of ultra-processed foods, no, which we realize are also undermining the health of the population. You know, it's been mentioned by a lot of our speakers, the ones who preceded me. And these UPFs are designed to replace traditional diets. I think it was just yesterday, no, when we saw the news from the British Medical Journal and as well as the Lancet that UPFs are now the leading cause of all-cause mortality. That's from the Lancet, and is linked to 32 diseases, no, from the British Medical Journal. I'm inspired by the example shared by the Negrense volunteers by Ma'am Kilaiko, because we can look to the practices of other countries. You know, countries like Brazil and Panama have created national policies limiting UPF consumption. And this was advanced, no, by the movement of farmers and consumers. Being in good food and talking to members of the youth, you know, we're alarmed by how obesity is rising. Our children are getting sicker with increased incidence of colorectal cancer in particular. We talked to people in their 20s saying they have high blood, no, and these are diseases that mark old age, advanced age, no, but we're seeing it in our young people. There's also a push, you know, for genetically modified rice, golden rice, to address vitamin A deficiency when our country's diversity has sufficient vitamin A sources. You know, we've seen it in the calendars, in the publications of Sikhay. We have such rich sources of vitamin C, affordable ones that we can grow in our backyards. And GMOs promote a singular approach to like medicalization of deficiencies, where you take a single pill as panacea when we can actually be promoting a more balanced diet, you know. An example is the Mingo, no, from the Mingo Nutrition Program, which I'm surprised and gratified to see includes vitamin A rich food. No, there's malunggay, there's mungo, and they're showing successes on the ground. No, so we hope that in terms of nutrition, I think it was Annie Love who said, no, it's not just something we deal with on our own. We need to pay attention to the social determinants of health, the conditions, no, that make healthy eating hard or easy. No, it's hard to be, if we rely on habits, and it's hard to be healthy when your choice is between Coke and Pepsi. No, the government has to make sure to promote traditional diets. Traditional diets are implicated in health in healthy results, no, of the population. So according to the World Health Organization, it's the social determinants that actually sometimes are more important than healthcare lifestyle choices in influencing health. So we need to be able to come together as a movement and exert pressure on the government to create policies and strategies for food production, distribution, and consumption in a way that protects our farmers, our culture, and making sure that our farmers and all eaters have equitable access to safe, healthy, and culturally relevant food. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share our thoughts on this, and thank you to our speakers for sharing their expertise, which has enriched our own experience of health. No? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mabi. So we've heard our reactors, we've heard our speakers. Now it's time for some discussions. It's our open forum session. However, for those who would like to ask questions for Miss Cecil of FAO, we will just take note of your questions or comments. We'll just forward it to her because she has already left the webinar. So we have 15 minutes for this, probably 3 or 4 reactions, comments, or insights. Just raise your hand so that you can be acknowledged. Okay, first we have, how do you say your name, sir? Philip Aitona. You're recognized.
Okay. Thank you very much. My question is, I guess, to everybody here. And it's hard for farmers to produce food when they're dead. So the pattern of the government killing farmers, I think, is a serious issue. And my understanding is that the participation of civil society, partnering with these food producers on the ground, does it help to shield these food producers from being targeted and red tagged, for example, that keeps them alive and producing our food? And I was wondering if anyone has any experience related to that.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Anyone from the speakers who might have insights on the question or the issue raised by Philip?
I think if I may, no, I think
yes,
one
sure,
of the
please.
most recent examples is that of the Tinang farmers asserting their rights to their land, and there was mass arrests conducted. But because of public pressure, it was a large group of students, of farmers, food justice advocates, CSO members, volunteers who were arrested, and they were detained for several days. But with public pressure, they were released. It's still an ongoing battle getting the case against them dismissed. But there's pressure from CSOs, from the public. Do help and make these crimes against our farmers visible, because it's hard when it's invisible. Then people would then it's easy to assume that such lives are disposable and we do not care, but we do care. So it's important to amplify these stories and to create a mass movement for the liberation of our farmers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mabi.
Thank you, Mabi.
Any more insights?
If I may, because I just saw the comment from Mr. Hector Villegas, how in Quezon City
Yes.
there's a process of creating an ordinance to localize nutrition labeling. Perhaps in the future we can hear from QC because they have a healthy food procurement ordinance where events programs of the Quezon City government must source, no, yung at least the food they will serve must source from farmers, from local farmers, and should not feature ultra processed. So I think that's such a huge win for us.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mabi. That would be considered by the team of organizers probably in the next series of webinars we will be organizing. Any more insights? We have room for one more. Philip, you're raising your hand again?
Well, if no one is asking,
Yeah. Take your time.
I'm not actually part of any civil service organization. I'm just part of a normal member of the public. And listening to everyone exerting so much time and effort to help society is admirable. But I don't have time for that. But I would like to support such efforts being done. So for basic people like me, does anyone have any insight on how we could contribute to the effort at mag-ambag?
Yeah. Thank you for raising that up, Philip. Well, your participation in this webinar is already a great ambag to the cause. Well, probably the reactors or the speakers would have more ideas of how we can contribute. I'm opening up the floor to the speakers. Any insights or response to Philip? How can the common people, not members of CSOs, take part in this advocacy? From Sikai, are you open to membership ba?
Okay. Membership, why not? No, I mean, we always would be interested in getting young, interested people to join us. Since we're all seniors, you might have a different perspective on how we could possibly promote. You can also join us in our cooking sessions, might have some new ideas of what the young ones are eating nowadays compared to what we were doing before, no? Maybe pag-ambag mo, Philip, was we purchasing our publications, joining us, right? Joining us on our cooking demos, no? So that you can actually have a hands-on experience too. And also, I guess, also for the group in Negros, also promoting, di ba, the products that they have to your friends that these are available. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ms. Rome, for
Welcome.
those ideas. I think yun na nga, we were challenged earlier, the challenge for everyone to really participate. So if we have resources at our disposal naman, we can probably host cooking demos or host webinars or forums like this in our localities. Invite the speakers we have here. More than willing, definitely. I'm assuming na the speakers in this webinar forum are more than willing to share more in local organized forums or webinars, community-based probably, or LGU supported. We have LGU support. I think we are open to it. So those are some things we can do, or simple networking and linkages will help us in the cause. That's how we usually operate relative to advocacies and engagements like this. So thank you very much, Ms. Rome and Philip. You have one more, Philip, before we close the open forum? Wala naman yatang masyadong nagtatanong. You're still raising your hand, or ito ba yung kanina?
I think kanina.
Okay. Sige. I think there are no more takers for the open forum. We are overwhelmed with the information, but these are good information that we have received this afternoon. So yeah. So let's now proceed to the next part of this webinar, which I will attempt to synthesize what we have heard this afternoon. So some keywords that have been coming out since we have started, I took down 3 keywords, which is collaboration, youth, and establishing buy-in for what we are doing. Collaboration is very important in advocating and doing these things. We have to get the support of the parents, the families, the LGU, and then a good support system for the community is very important. Now, by doing this collaborative effort of really advocating, it generates a buy-in for what we do. And this buy-in plus the program of collaboration would ensure at least success in what we do. And in the current trend, it's very important to really engage the youth in this advocacy, in this cause, to really advocate for nutrition, because we've heard our youth reactors share their piece already about how they have become interested, and it's really about sustaining what they have heard here through their networks. And as a challenge for the youth, it's really not easy, but we have to do it. Our resource persons, our speakers have been in the advocacy for quite some time, and it's also good to know that what we have been doing in the advocacy work for nutrition becomes the foundations where these young people can proceed or move forward from. Hindi tayo magsisimula sa wala. Hindi zero yung ating advokasya on nutrition, but we have something to ground our work on. The people ahead of us have established a very good and fertile ground for advocating about nutrition. It's up to us now to pick up from where they have started and continue doing things. So that has been our thoughts and lessons for this afternoon. So hopefully we will be able to move forward from this from this webinar with renewed interest on nutrition and how we can really do things in our little ways, as Philip has asked a while ago. How do we really do it if we are not part of a CSO, or if we are doing it as individuals? There's a lot to be explored. We just have to get the right networks and the right connections. So thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to call Sir Ed Valenzuela for the acknowledgement of our speakers and reactors. Sir Ed?
Thank you, Koy. First, I'd like to congratulate everybody for a job well done. I think we had very useful insights and very useful discussion in a way. No? The presentations were very not only interesting, but kind of illuminates what can actually be done. And this is a very complicated, it's a complex area. We know that, but seeing grassroots and and actual examples of what is happening on the ground kind of gives hope, no? That because we know government cannot do everything, and whatever little resources that are available, plus all the goodwill that can be generated among people, society, communities, and whether organized groups or individuals, I think will go a long way, no? And lastly, just one last point is, I think all of this change or transformation that we want to see for a better world, for a better feeding, for better nutrition, really has to start with ourselves, no? Sa atin po yan, eh. No, it's up to us. With that, without further ado, I think I'd like to just recognize all the speakers and reactors. We do have a, what do you call this? An e-certificate of appreciation that we will provide to them after the meeting. And I don't know if we have a sample of it here, but if not, maybe I can just read one, but this is one and the same for everybody. So this certificate of appreciation in the name of with all our logos there on top, no? From SDSN to Ateneo to the Institute of Sustainability to Savior U to Savior Science Foundation and Ateneo de Davao, we present this certificate of appreciation to our resource persons and reactors for their valuable contribution, and as a speaker or as a reactor for the SDG project first webinar for 2024 that entitled Nourish the Nation, Advocacies on Nutrition, given this 12th day of March 2024 via Zoom. And it's signed by our Assistant Vice President for Sustainable Development, Environment, and Community Engagement, Dr. Leland de la Cruz from Ateneo de Manila University, who hosts, the Secretariat hosts this SDSN Working Group number 2, which are the collective group of institutions that are here this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Ed. Let's give a virtual round of applause to our resource persons and our reactors. Indeed, this was a very fruitful and healthy discussion in the afternoon. So now we would like to invite everyone to kindly open your cameras, if you may, for our group photo. Grace of Ateneo will take the photo. So, stop share lang muna natin, please. So we can see the photos. Okay, yan. Ilang pages ba, Grace? Marami. Okay, so just hold your smiles. 4 pages daw ito. So hold your smiles, taking the first page. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. Second page. Smile. Okay. The third page now. Just smile. 1, 2, 3. And the last page. So, smile. Thank you very much, everyone. We now can we go back to the slide for some announcements? The next webinar, yeah, please. So, since this is the first of the 2024 SDG 2 webinars, we will have the second webinar on June 18, 2024, 2 to 5 p.m. via Zoom. So we we expect and we hope that you could still join us in the next webinar for June 18, 2024. Okay, so we now proceed to the last part of our webinar. So allow me to say the closing remarks. Yeah, so please, let's continue the discussion through our Facebook page, the Food Systems Community Dialogues. If you're not yet a part of that community, please like the page so we can continue the conversations. There are a lot of good discussions there, and it's a good way to network as well. We have a lot of experts on board in the Food Systems Community Dialogues page. Okay, so we now proceed to the closing remarks. Okay, so at this point, we've heard a lot about health, about food, about nutrition, but this webinar would not be possible without the assistance of the Office of the Assistant Vice President for Social Development, Environment, and Community Engagement. Thank you very much to them, the Ateneo de Davao Institutional Communications and Promotions Office for providing us with the Zoom platform. Of course, Ateneo live stream for the streaming of this webinar through YouTube. And of course, the SDG2 working group, SDSN Philippines, Ateneo de Manila, Ateneo Institute of Sustainability, Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan, Science Foundation, Xavier Science Foundation, and Ateneo de Davao University. So this has been your moderator for this webinar, Mark Paul Macoy Samante of Ateneo de Davao. And I'd like to leave everyone with this short note that nutrition should not be at our discretion, but it should be our direction. So thank you very much and good afternoon. We hope to see you in our future webinars. Dagang salamat ug mayong hapon sa tanan. Please take time to do the evaluation.
The evaluation form is important to get your e-certificate.
Yes, yes. Please do the evaluation before you log off. Yes, sir.